This episode of Two Lost Souls is brought to you in partnership with langbuddy.ai.
Therapy, as we know, is all about language. Words and their meaning help bridge that gap between us and our clients' understanding of the world.
However, like anything in life, practice makes progress. And if you're learning a new language, LangBuddy is just the tool for that. LangBuddy is an AI language bot that you can talk to on WhatsApp. And it's not just about speaking either. It's about listening and understanding. LangBuddy can send you voice notes so you can train your ear to your chosen language.
That's amazing. Is it available in French?
Oui.
Spanish?
Si.
Lithuanian?
Tape.
Japanese?
Hai.
Swahili?
Ndio. In fact, there are over 300 languages and regional dialects available, so we could carry on doing this all day.
Well, luckily, given that it's an AI chatbot, you literally can. There's no waiting for it while it sleeps or eats. The learning never stops. And given that therapy and learning go hand in hand, we are pleased to offer listeners of Two Lost Souls 10% off your first month of LangBuddy by going to langbuddy.ai and using the discount code Two Lost Souls at the checkout. That's langbuddy.ai with the discount code Two Lost Souls.
LangBuddy. Improve your language skills by chatting with an AI native speaker. Hi, I'm Ravi.
And I'm Shell,
And you're listening to Two Lost Souls.
the podcast that guides you through the journey to becoming a CBT therapist.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whenever and wherever you are listening. Welcome to the Two Lost Souls podcast. The title of today's episode is OSCE, 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 Oi, 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 as chosen by our wonderful followers on Twitter. I am your host, Ravi Amrith, and in today's show, we will be having a discussion and a bit of a role play around the OSCE part of the high intensity CBT course. But let me begin by saying that this is your podcast guide to surviving a high intensity CBT course. We pride ourselves on creating a safe space for trainees, qualified therapists, and those who are just generally curious. Honesty is our policy and we tell it how we see it, but we'd love to hear your views too. As usual, I'm joined in the therapy room today by the superb Michelle Sudbury. How's it going, Michelle?
Hello, Ravi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. Not too bad. I've got a little bit of a headache today, but yeah, I'm doing all right.
Oh no. Well, I'm hoping you feel better soon.
Thanks.
Yeah. How's your week going otherwise, alongside sort of headaches and stuff like that?
Not too bad at all, actually. The weather's been really rubbish, and I had to go into work today, so I had a miserable drive in flooded Birmingham city centre this morning.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was quite bad, but beautiful by the time I got to work. So that's what you get in the UK.
And how was it for the drive home?
And really nice.
Oh.
Yeah, sun was out, gorgeous.
Oh, there
So
we go then.
strange. Yeah.
The UK is definitely a country where you can get all seasons in one day.
Absolutely, and that's why we love it.
Yeah, not that we work for the tourist board or anything like that, but if anyone does want to come and visit England, why not?
I mean, and it's an excellent one to use for intolerance of uncertainty because, can't predict our weather.
This is true. And on the subject of weather and intolerance of uncertainty, I am definitely the one person who will pack both sun cream and an umbrella wherever I go. And
Over-prepared.
Definitely. Yeah. I think I have an issue with my distress tolerance as well. I can't be dealing with any of that stuff, so I just like to prevent all of it. For any trainees who haven't covered the kind of GAD teaching yet, This will all be really funny when you get to that point. You can listen back to this segment and go, oh, now I get it. But yeah. Before we move on with the rest of today's episode, let me just remind you that if you have any particular questions or topics that you would like to see covered on this show, reach out to us on Twitter at TLS_pod or by email at twolostsoulspodcast@gmail.com. So this is going to be a slightly different episode to the ones we usually do, in that we are going to do what a lot of people tend to hate, be it on the training course or be it anywhere, and that's a bit of a role play. We are actually going to do a bit of an OSCE for you today. I suppose my first question is why?
Because everybody's terrified of the OSCE. I've never met anybody, and that includes myself, who didn't kind of build the OSCE up to be this enormous, scary event. And it is quite scary. So it's going to be, I hope, really useful for people to have a little bit of an idea about what it might sound like, what might be expected of them. So
Yeah.
that's why, Ravi.
Definitely.
And also to make you really uncomfortable.
This is also very true. So anyone who's been listening to the other episodes of the show so far will know that I am very good. I'm slippery like an eel when it comes to arranging my live supervised practice. And so this is kind of a version of me doing that, except obviously if the BABCP are listening, it's definitely not me doing that. So that is definitely an element of it. The way we're going to kind of run this is that we are going to do two examples. We're going to do a hopefully passable example of what an OSCE could look like, and we're going to do a version of an OSCE that could also require some improvement to it. And if you are listening along at home, feel free to take a CTSR marking sheet and grade us as you go along. I don't know. Are we gonna self-score this after we've done it?
I think I'll be too busy concentrating on being a poor therapist because it will be such a step away from my normal style, obviously. So I'm going to have to give that a lot of effort. But yeah, no. Please mark them. Let us know what you think.
If you are listening along at home, mark us with your CTSRs. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter and give us your final mark if you would like to. Don't forget, it's only criteria 1 to 10 that I think are scored for the OSCE. So you don't need to worry about 11 and 12. Do we want to give a little kind of information on what the OSCE is for people before we begin? So if people are listening who aren't on the journey right now, maybe you're going to be on the journey in the future and are maybe sort of generally curious about the process, do we want to explain what an OSCE is and what the point of it is?
Yeah, sure. I think it's kind of like a fitness to practice exercise, isn't it? And the idea behind the OSCE is that you're expected to perform kind of an initial appointment with a client from a vignette or case study example, and it will be addressing one of two kind of problem descriptors. So your client will either have an anxiety or a depression presentation. So you'll be, prompted to be adhering to the CTSR criterion so that you're kind of addressing all of the points that you need to address. They're usually videoed rather than watched live, or at least in my experience they are. And then that's how they're marked and assessed. And they're a pass or a fail event. So what was your experience of doing the OSCE, Ravi?
Mine was good. I think there was a lot of nerves in the run up to it in terms of understanding what went into it, and also just internally kind of working myself up over it. I mean, it's a really weird phenomenon. So I know at some universities they badge it as a thing that you're kind of meant to do before you engage in clinical work.
Yes.
In my case, I had already done some clinical work before doing my OSCE, and it's a really weird thing in terms of knowing that basically I'm doing my day job and I feel really nervous about doing something that I've technically done loads of times.
Yeah.
Simply because obviously there's an extra pair of eyes on it, so it tends to get marked. There's an awful lot of reflection involved as well. So you self-mark your CTSR afterwards and reflect on your own skill. And particularly when it's the first thing you do, I think there's sometimes a case of sort of unknown unknowns there, and sort of asking yourself, am I really kind of picking up everything that I need to pick up in terms of gaps that I might have missed? And also there's obviously that sort of first time anxiety of just watching yourself on screen and listening to yourself and kind of over analyzing everything that happened as well. Just something to note. So in my experience, my OSCE was done via Zoom, simply because I think we were the first cohort after COVID. I'm not sure how that might progress for cohorts this year or for cohorts in the future, whether it might be face to face. So I don't know, given that your OSCE was in the days before COVID-19 was even thought of. I'm wondering what your experience of it was as well.
Yeah, my OSCE was face to face. So we were paired up, and I worked with another one of my cohorts. So we took it in turns, and we were professionally video recorded, which was really probably the most terrifying bit for me, to be honest. Watching it back was utterly hideous. You kind of recognise that you've got, many more chins than you imagined you ever had. So that bit was a bit grim. But the experience itself, I actually really enjoyed doing the OSCE. I felt that it was a really nice way to showcase the very kind of limited amount of learning you've had by the time you get around to doing the OSCE. But I'd already started to feel a bit more confident in my ability to do that. I was doing it with clients, and it was kind of nice to have it validated, by passing the OSCE. You know that you're doing a good enough job, and that's really reassuring. So I found it great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also a really useful tool, particularly when you're at that early stage, to reflect on your skills, and really sets you in good stead for further, and not to diminish this, but more sort of serious kind of examination and stuff that comes your way as well. Okay, cool. So shall we kind of get started then? Essentially the OSCE recording generally lasts half an hour. So what you are going to hear as part of the rest of the episode today are two 30-minute segments of therapy. Hi there, my name is Ravi Amrath, and I work as a high-intensity CBT therapist. Can I just confirm what you'd like to be called, first of all?
Yeah, Michelle's fine.
Michelle, cool. Hi, Michelle. We have half an hour together today, and I gather you've been sort of referred to this service for support with your mental health, and I was just wondering, knowing the time that we have available, I was just wondering what you would like to get out of this appointment that we have today.
I don't know really. I haven't been feeling very well, so I just hope you can tell me, how I can start to feel a bit better.
Okay, got you. So essentially how CBT and the modality or the type of treatment that we use will sort of be able to help with that going forward. Is that right? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Cool.
Please.
Got you. Okay. Just to kind of start off with, Michelle, so you mentioned that you've not been feeling very well recently with stuff. Can you just kind of take me into that a little bit and describe how long this has been going on for you?
I think it's been about 6 months now, I think. And I'm kind of struggling at work a little bit. I'm not sleeping properly.
Okay.
And I can't stop worrying, and I'm thinking about things all the time. And so people at work have commented now.
Okay, got you. you mentioned this sense of worry and this sense of struggling at work. What generally tends to show up for you?
I worry that I'm not doing my job properly and that people are getting annoyed with me, or that I'm missing things and I'm going to make a big mistake.
Okay.
And then maybe that'll get me into trouble. And then if I get into trouble, I'll have to go and talk to the manager. And yeah, I'm just really worried all the time. And I keep thinking about it when I'm at home. And then I don't want to go into work, but I've got to go to work because I don't get any sick pay if I go off sick. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So it sounds like you're this moment when you're having all this worry, your mind's sort of going off in several different directions with this, right? And it sounds like you're thinking about various scenarios that might happen as a result of what's going on for you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think my mum says I'm a worrier, and I just have to stop worrying about it because it hasn't happened. So, so I've been trying not to think about it so much, but that's not working.
Okay, got you. You mentioned that this started about 6 months ago for you, Michelle.
Yeah.
What did life look like before that?
Well, we got a new manager about the same time, and she's really strict, and she's changed some of the things that I do. So my job looks a bit different now. So I had to learn some new things. But before that, I really liked my job before, and it was okay. But my mum is right. I have always been a worrier. But I wasn't having problems sleeping and stuff before. So,
Right,
yeah.
got you. You've mentioned sort of sleep a lot of the time, or on a couple of occasions during this so far, and I'm really intrigued. So, what other sort of impact has this had on you, do you think?
I'm just really tired all of the time, and then the more tired that I am, the more I'm worried that I'm going to miss something or get something wrong at work. And then this manager, because she's kind of, I don't know, really strict, I think I'll definitely get into trouble then, but it will be my own fault because I'm not getting enough sleep.
Okay, got you. I can understand how that can be really worrying for you. Can I just ask? I mean, you've spoken there a lot about a manager being strict and being called in to see the manager as a worry of yours, and I'm just wondering, has this person ever mentioned anything to you about particular things that you're doing?
No, not to me, but then there was a thing a couple of weeks ago, and she called in the girl that I work with, and they went into the office, and I could see them talking, and then they started to laugh, and then they looked through the office window at me, and then they were laughing a bit, and I think they were probably talking about me.
Got you. What makes you think that they were talking about you?
Because they looked at me, and then when my friend came out, she didn't say what they'd been talking about. So now I'm worried now that I have done something wrong, and she's told, that they're laughing at me, and they're talking about it.
Okay, got you. You've mentioned a lot of concern there about doing something wrong in the workplace, Michelle, and just wondering if you did do something wrong within your job, what would be the worst thing about that for you?
Well, I might get the sack.
Okay.
So I might lose my job.
Okay. And if that happened, if that were true and you lost your job, what do you think that would say about you as a person?
Well, it's not good, is it? If you lose your job, and I don't know, I'd be really embarrassed. And then how would I go about getting another job? I'd have to go and look again and have interviews. And I hate doing all of that.
Okay.
And then I've got to pay my mum some housekeeping money. And if I'm not getting paid, then I won't be able to do that. So then she might get cross with me. And yeah.
Okay. You mentioned, Michelle, that this has been going on for 6 months now, and I'm just wondering, what have you sort of tried doing to manage this so far? How have you sort of coped with all this stuff that's going on for you?
Well, I've been going into work a bit earlier
Okay.
so that I can make sure that I'm ready to start the day, and I'm definitely not going to be late, because then I can't get into trouble for being late. And then I've been working really hard. I'm trying to pay lots of attention, but because I'm so tired, I don't know if I am. So, and then I've tried to sort my sleeping out a little bit, and I've been going to bed a bit earlier, but then I can't get to sleep. So I don't really know what else to try now. I was going to talk to my doctor. Well, I spoke to my doctor, who said come here, and they mentioned some tablets, but I don't really want to take tablets.
Okay, got you. While we're on that subject, Michelle, have you ever sort of taken any medication for anything like this in the past, or?
No, I don't want to take anything, because I think I've heard some stories when people get addicted to it. So, and I don't want to do that. So I'll just try this first, I think.
Okay, got you. What I would kind of want to mention at this point to you is that obviously I recognise that that's a concern around addiction for you. When it comes to sort of the medical side of things, I think it might be worth kind of continuing to keep open a dialogue with your GP about that as we go forward.
Okay.
Just to kind of bear that in mind, and just maybe to see other avenues that could be explored with this.
Okay.
You've mentioned a lot of worry that comes up for you, so particular thoughts around not doing your job properly, and worries that you'll be called in to see a manager, and that you, worst case scenario, might end up getting the sack and then end up needing to start a whole nother sort of recruitment process.
Yeah.
When this stuff sort of shows up for you in the moment and while you're at work, what are the sort of emotions that show up for you?
What do you mean? Like,
Well, how do you feel in that particular moment?
I feel a bit scared, and I feel a bit embarrassed, and I feel a bit useless. I don't know, really. I think that's it. I feel sad a lot, but mostly I just feel really worried.
Got you. Yeah. I'm wondering, I mean, firstly, just to sort of sit with that for a moment, actually, Michelle, and just want to say that with all of these sort of thoughts that are showing up for you in that moment, I think it actually makes a lot of sense that you're feeling these things in that particular moment as they're happening. You mentioned earlier on also that when these thoughts kind of show up for you, you've tried to manage some of them by going to bed early. You've mentioned that tiredness is sometimes a factor that shows up for you as well around this stuff.
Yeah.
Are there any particular sort of physical sensations that you sort of feel in that moment when all this stuff is going on for you?
Well, I think when I get really worried, my face goes hot. I start to feel really hot.
Right.
And then sometimes I shake a little bit. My legs go a bit wobbly.
Okay.
And my mum says that I start talking a bit quicker. And I think that, I don't know, my thoughts are racing a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about lots of different things at the same time. So that happens. I don't know if there's anything else.
Okay. Just kind of bearing that in mind for a second, Michelle. I mean, to be honest, that does really sound exhausting, all this stuff that you're going through. So this sense of your mind racing, and it sounds like it's sort of one thing after the other. So
Yeah.
okay. You mentioned there this sense of your face going hot and starting to shake, and you start talking quicker. And what happens after that? Do you have any particular thoughts about those things when those show up for you?
Well, I think they can see So, like the other day when they were in that office and they were laughing, and I think they were looking at me through the window, I know that I went red, and I know that I did start shaking. I don't know if they could see that, but I could feel it. And then I don't want them to look at me then. I didn't want anybody to look at me then.
Okay.
So I think I went into the toilet and I stayed in there for a little bit until I felt better.
Okay, got you. You mentioned this sense of not wanting people to look at you then. If someone was around you in that time period and they were looking at you, what do you think they would be thinking?
I don't know. I don't know what they'd be thinking, but I feel like I'm going to start to cry. And then I think they'd probably think, what's the matter with her? Or that I'm weird, or I don't know. Or that they would say, oh, she's crying because she has done something wrong, and they're kind of getting ready to sack her or something.
Right. Almost feels as if you kind of show that happening, it's almost confirming all these concerns that you already have.
Well, yeah, because you only cry if, you're upset or if you've done something, I suppose, don't you?
Okay.
It's not normal to just start crying, is it?
Okay. You mentioned that sort of a couple of things that you've sort of caught yourself doing when all this really difficult stuff shows up for you, Michelle. And so you've spoken about this sense of going into work early and trying to almost kind of put off some of that concern and almost head it off before it happens.
Yeah.
And you've spoken about in these moments when you notice some of these physical symptoms for you go to the toilet and kind of get a bit of space for yourself from everyone else. And if I was a fly on the wall as you are kind of having these experiences and these really difficult thoughts, what else would I see you doing in that moment?
I don't know. I just really want to just get on with my work and do a really good job. So I just try really hard. So I think I'd hope you'd see that, but I don't know really. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Is there anything else you try and do to deal with these or with these painful things as they're showing up for you?
I don't really do anything when it's happening because I just get on with my work really. But then when I get home, sometimes I talk to my mum and tell her that I felt a bit funny, and then like I say, she says that, well, that's because I'm worrying too much, and she says, well, just stop worrying so much about it, but do a good job and try really hard and things like that. So I'm doing that. But then when I go upstairs, what I do is I just watch kind of box sets and try and distract myself so I don't have to think about it. And then if I keep really busy or do something that I enjoy, then I don't worry as much.
Okay, got you. You mentioned watching box sets and doing stuff to kind of keep your mind occupied a bit. How well do you feel that that's working for you?
Well, I'm not actually really watching them because it's the stuff that I've watched loads of times before, but I just like having it on in the background really, because then, I don't know, it feels a bit distracting. It isn't really. I think I'm still worrying. And my sleep hasn't gotten any better by trying that, but I feel like it does help a bit.
Just again, you've kind of spoken about the impact of this on your sleep, and I'm just really intrigued. When you do attempt to sort of settle down of an evening, what do you find sort of happens for you?
So my mum told me to not use my phone and things like that before I go to bed. But I don't really use my phone that much anyway. So what I do is I make sure I go to bed at the same time and things. But even when I'm really tired, so I've had a really busy day and I've been running around and doing stuff, as soon as I lie down and it's quiet, I'll have a thought and then I just can't stop thinking about it. And if I do fall asleep, I'll still wake up in the night, and then it's as though I've been thinking about it all night because the thought is just still there.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, it does. Are these thoughts that you sort of find yourself having at that time, would you say these are similar to the thoughts that happen when you feel quite scared and embarrassed at work?
yeah, they're the same thoughts, I think. It's always about, well, sometimes I'm thinking, oh God, did I remember to turn that off before I left?
Okay.
What did I do with the keys? Because sometimes I have to lock up, and then I think, have I put the keys in the lockbox? Because if I haven't done that, then I'll definitely get the sack, because then that means somebody could break in because I haven't put them securely. And then sometimes I'm kind of thinking about stuff that I've done in the day and mistakes that I might have made, and I'm trying to work out if I made them or not because I can't always remember. So I think that's what I think about a lot in the night time.
Right. Got you. Just want to sort of track back if I can, and also just kind of discuss something you mentioned earlier, Michelle, around this sense of when this shows up for you in the workplace, you sometimes go to the toilet to try and give yourself a bit of distance from people.
Yeah.
If you didn't do that, what do you think would happen?
I think I'd just start crying.
Okay.
I think I'd just be bright red. I'd just start crying, and then I'd just be really embarrassed because I'd make a complete show of myself, I think.
Okay. Got you. Can I just ask how you're feeling in this moment, just talking about all this stuff now?
A bit embarrassed, really, because it sounds a bit stupid, doesn't it? Because nothing's actually happened yet. So I'm just worrying about it happening. And that's what my mom keeps saying to me, like, that I'm making things worse for myself. I'm not helping myself.
Okay. How do you feel when she says that?
I feel a bit cross because she isn't there and she doesn't know this woman. But I think she's right as well.
Mm.
But I don't know how to stop it.
Got you. Okay. Well, just to kind of summarise some of the information that you've given, Michelle, I've been taking some notes down, if you don't mind, while we've been talking.
Okay.
And I'll kind of show you. I've drawn them up in a little sort of format that we've got here. And
okay.
Excuse the handwriting. Clearly, I should have been a doctor, but you're having some really difficult thoughts, particularly when this stuff shows up for you in the workplace, and when you're having a moment where you feel as though you're struggling with a task, and these thoughts are I'm not doing my job properly, and worries that I'm going to have to see the manager, or I'm going to be called in to see the manager. I might get the sack. I don't want people to look at me, particularly when it comes to these really difficult physical symptoms that you've got, and they'll think that I'm weird. And firstly, again, just really want to acknowledge that those thoughts are really, really difficult. Can I just ask, out of all of those thoughts, which one of those would you say is the sort of loudest when it shows up for you?
I think probably the one that I'm going to make a mistake, because that one I think I have all the time. Okay. And I think it's like, I'm going to make a mistake, I'm going to get into trouble, and then I'm going to lose my job. Okay. So that, I think, is the worst thought.
Okay, got you. And just to imagine almost a bit of a volume dial on that, and if that volume dial went from 0 to 100, what volume would you say that thought is when it shows up for you?
Do you mean, like, what do you mean?
How intense is that thought when it appears in your mind?
Oh, it's really strong. I kind of, when I have that thought, I actually think I've already made the mistake, and that's why I'm having the thought.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Almost as if it's a fact and something that's
Yeah.
already happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we had to put a number on that, Michelle, on a scale of
Yeah.
0 to 100 as to how powerful it is, what would you say that number is?
That one's 100, I think.
100. Okay. So
Yeah.
right at the very top. Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh. Okay. And I'm really wondering, actually, so when we sort of take a look at this, so you've got all of these thoughts and this sort of main thought here of I'm going to make a mistake, which you've rated at 100%.
Mm-hmm.
As a result of those thoughts, you've mentioned this physically, your face going quite hot, you start to shake, and you start talking quicker, you start feeling a bit tearful as well, you've spoken about.
Yeah.
And you're also having these really difficult emotions of feeling scared, embarrassed, sad, and worried. Can I just ask, similarly to what we did with the thoughts, out of all of those emotions that showed up for you, which of those would you say is the most intense?
I think scared.
Okay.
I think.
Got it. And again, similarly to the thoughts, if we had to kind of rate how intense that emotion is when it shows up on a scale of 0 to 100.
Yeah. I suppose not like, don't know, it's a strange kind of scared, really. So it's not like 100. It's not like I think I'm going to die or anything like that. But it's quite high. I think probably like, I don't know, maybe 70 or something.
Got you. So really, really quite intense though. So I can really resonate with how worrying this is for you, particularly when it's been going on for as long as it has.
Yeah.
You mentioned that in response to all this painful stuff, you're sort of going into work early. You're sometimes finding yourself going to the toilet to kind of get away from other people so they can't see what's going on for you. You've mentioned that particularly when you get home, you'll have to have a chat with your mum to kind of almost debrief what's happened and almost get some reassurance from her. And you mentioned that can kind of go either way sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Watching box sets to kind of have something ticking over in the background and sort of semi-distract yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But also there's this, you've sort of caught yourself sort of ruminating and overthinking as well. I'm just wondering, just to kind of begin illustrating this a little bit alongside what we've already got, where would you say this sort of starts off for you? What do you think sort of happens first? What do you experience first in that moment?
I think probably maybe the feeling.
Okay.
Because I think I feel worried.
Okay. Got you. Right.
I think.
Okay. Got you. And so from that, sort of the rest of the stuff sort of kind of kicks off from there. And I'm just wondering, so taking these thoughts and everything else that's going on for you, what happens to those feelings in response to all that stuff?
I think I then start thinking about why I'm worried, why I feel worried.
Yeah.
And then when I have more and more of those thoughts, I think I'll go back to feelings, I think.
Okay.
Maybe it's physical, I don't know.
Got you.
Because then I'm worried that my face is going red and then my face goes red.
One final thing I kind of wanted to ask you about, particularly in relation to some of those behaviours that we spoke about, what do you think the impact of those are on this kind of short term for you? So you mentioned things like going to work early or going to the toilet, for example. What do those do for you in the moment?
Going to work early, I think I'm doing that because then I feel a bit more prepared. And like, if she does say to me, "Oh, you've done that wrong," or "You're not working hard enough," or "You're not trying hard enough," I can say, "Well, actually, I came into work early and I did that in my own time." And it's like I've got some proof then that I'm a good employee, and she might as well keep me.
Right.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so it's this sense of kind of going above and beyond, and it sounds like in the moment it's quite helpful for you to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, I think it feels like it is.
But
But
what's it doing in the long term?
Wow, I've got to get up earlier to get the earlier bus to get into work, and I'm already like really tired anyway. So that I'm finding it really difficult to get up in the morning because I don't think I'm getting to sleep till really late, and then I'm waking up, and then when I do drop off, and then my alarm goes off earlier because I want to get in earlier.
Right.
So maybe I think it's just making me more tired, to be honest.
Okay. And
she hasn't even noticed anyway, because I've been doing this for weeks now.
Right.
And there's only me there because I can like get the keys because I do the locking up. So I just get the keys and I can open up and she hasn't even noticed anyway. So I don't even know if it's worth it.
Right. Got you. Kind of sticking with that sense of maybe making you feel a bit more tired as well. And just kind of reflecting on something you said earlier, actually, Michelle, around sometimes this sense of tiredness makes you feel as though either you are going to make a mistake or that you have made more mistakes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess.
Yeah, because you get confused, don't you? Because like cause I'm so tired and then I do something and then I don't know if I've done it properly anyway.
Yeah.
But I do. I know I've done it properly. But then when I get home, I just think, oh, God, I don't think I've done that properly. And I can't really remember. And I think it's just because I'm so tired.
Got you. Yeah. So it sounds like in the long run, particularly that example isn't so helpful for you in that sounds like it's getting in the way of stuff more than anything else.
It might be a bit, I think. But I don't know what else to do, though.
Cool. I think luckily, and kind of just bringing this back up again, there are things that we can do around this actually.
Okay.
And there are various ways we can kind of look at what's going on for you, and this is why we've kind of made these notes as we have done, almost as a way of us being able to kind of map out what's going on for you and begin to almost see a bit of a path. So with that in mind, the good news is that there is something that CBT can do, and we can take a look at some of those behavioural responses you've discussed there. But we can also take a look at some of those really difficult thoughts that you're experiencing in the moment as well.
Okay.
And also, you mentioned a lot of really difficult physical symptoms in the moment as well. We can definitely do some work there around what they mean and where they come from. And maybe taking a look at how we can maybe do some more helpful things as opposed to the stuff that seems like it's making you a bit more tired. How does that sound?
Well, that sounds good if we can do it, but does it normally work?
It does. And what I'll say is that, I mean, CBT doesn't work for everyone, and there will be something where we will have to review treatment as we go along. But when it comes to anxiety, there is a good track record for it working. And I mean, are you willing to kind of give it a go and see where we can go with this?
Yeah, because I don't want to be like this. I want to feel better. I don't want to always be worrying.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah.
What I'll say then is that a member of our team will kind of give you a call, having covered the information that we have today, and
Okay.
we'll be able to get you booked in and sort something out shortly.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Michelle. I'm a high intensity CBT therapist. How would you like me to address you during the session?
Ravi's fine, thank you.
Ravi, Rav, what do you prefer?
Ravi, please.
Ravi. Okay. All right, we'll go with that then. So have you had a session like this before, Ravi?
Like what?
Oh, okay. So I'm going to be asking you just loads of questions, really. It's like an assessment, and I just want to get some information and see what's wrong with you, really. So have you ever done anything like that before?
Well, I suppose my GP sort of referred me here, so I suppose I answered their questions a little bit. I don't know if does that count?
Yeah, no, they don't actually. GPs, I don't think have got much interest in mental health, so they only ask you the basic ones, don't they? That'll be why they've shipped you off to us instead. I'm going to ask you a lot more if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. I suppose so. Is this kind of? I'm guessing this is part of the process, and I have to do this to.
Yeah, you've got to do this bit really, because I think, if you think about it, I've never met you before, and I want to know a little bit more about you and see if we can get you some help, if we're the right people to get you help. So we've got 30 minutes, and that's quite strict on that time, actually. So what I'll do is we'll stick to the kind of sections, and I'll give you some time markers so we don't run over. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Because we can't run over because I've got somebody booked in straight after you. So, anyway, okay. So I guess just tell me a bit then about why you're here. What's happening?
It's just been feeling really, really down, really, to be honest. So it's
have you?
Yeah, it's been a while now. So it's been about 6 or 7 months, really, to be honest, and people are starting to worry about me, and so they told me that I should really go and get help.
Okay. What do you mean when you say like feeling down? What do you mean?
Oh, just not really having any motivation, just not really finding any pleasure in anything. I'm just having a bit of a rubbish time, to be honest, and not enjoying anything.
So has anything happened then? What's happened that's made you feel like this?
Nothing really. I suppose I've just been doing the same thing I always have, just working, coming home, looking after the family, playing some sport here and there, but nothing's changed.
So nothing's happened? Nothing at all, no?
I don't think so.
Okay. What I'm going to do then, if it's all right with you, so I can get some information. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called the 5 areas model.
Okay.
Have you heard of that before?
No. What is it?
So I'm just going to ask you some questions, and then what I'll do, I'll write it down, and then I'll explain it to you afterwards.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I need you to do then is think about the last time that you felt like low or down.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell me what was going on that made you feel like that. There must have been a situation or something that was happening.
Well, I was at work, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
When was this? How long ago was this?
this was 2 days ago. This was the other day.
Oh, okay. So nice and recent then. So you should be able to remember a lot about this situation then, should you?
Kind of, I guess. But I mean, that's part of the difficulty, I suppose. A lot of the stuff is kind of just blending into one, and I'm not really remembering much.
Oh, okay. Well, do your best with it then. So where were you? Who were you with?
Well, I was at home. I was on my own, actually. To be honest, I work from home. I work remotely, so
Oh, I wondered then, because you said you were at work, but you're working from home.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you were at home. And then what happened? So you just suddenly started to feel low, did you?
Pretty much. Just kind of just doing my daily job, and just felt really, really sad and bored and just rubbish.
Okay. Sad and bored and rubbish. Okay. And then what did you do about that? How did you start to make yourself feel a bit better?
I I didn't really. I just sort of just had to get on with work, I guess.
Okay. Are you still feeling like that now?
Um, a little bit, yeah.
What, so as strong as it was a couple of days ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. And nothing you've done since that's made any difference? No?
Not really. I mean, I went out for a walk the other day, and that was all right, but it
So
didn't
you went
really
walking.
it didn't really fix anything.
So why did you go for a walk? What did you think that was going to fix?
I just thought it would be nice to get a bit of air, really, and maybe have a change of scenery, I guess.
Yeah. But no, it didn't help, no?
No.
No. Okay. And then is this happening in other places for you, or is it just when you're at home doing your work?
It's, to be honest, it's sort of everywhere, to be honest. I feel like it's something I'm kind of carrying with me.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any history of depression in your family?
Nothing that was diagnosed, I don't think. I think my parents struggled with it, but they never got any help about it.
Okay. So you're going to change that now, are you, and get some help?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Now the other bit I've got to complete on here. So you've told me that you've had some feelings, like you felt sad and you felt bored and then you felt rubbish. And then the other bit is like the behaviours that you do to make yourself feel better. And you just said that you go walking. Is there anything else that you do that makes you feel better?
No, not really.
You don't try talking to anybody, or
I've
you don't
really
play video games or do some exercise, or nothing?
There's not really anyone I can talk to be honest with you.
Oh, I thought, did you say you lived at home with your family?
Yeah, but they're I don't want to burden them with my stuff, you know.
Okay. All right. So you're not talking to anyone either. What about friends? Have you got some friends?
Not really.
No. Do you not make friends easily, or why haven't you got some friends?
I just don't. I don't. I don't feel that confident really to be able to.
Okay. We've been doing this now for about 10 minutes, so you've given me some information there. I'm just going to move on to the next bit, if that's okay, because we've got quite a lot to cover. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the bit that I need to find out about now is it's like what's going on in your body. So do you have any physical symptoms of feeling low?
Just tearfulness. I want to cry a lot of the time.
Well, actually, that's more of a behaviour, isn't it? Crying. So if you think about it, crying is something you're doing. So that should have come under the behaviours bit.
Oh.
You know, when we just talked about when you're going out walking.
Right.
So crying's one of the things that you do, is it?
Oh, okay. Is that, I didn't realise it would be helpful.
What do you mean?
You said like behaviour stuff was stuff that I'd do to kind of help the situation. I didn't realise that the crying would be a helpful
yeah,
thing.
that's right. Yeah, so it's stuff that's helpful, but also stuff that you might do but isn't helpful. But we're not really on safety behaviours and things yet. That'll come a little bit more later. So I just need to know about all the behaviours. So that's a safety behaviour, something that you do to make yourself feel better.
Oh, okay. Right.
So, you know, when you're crying, why are you crying?
Because I'm sad.
Okay. And does it make you feel better?
No.
No. Okay. So yeah, let's get back onto those physical ones then. So what else is going on in your body?
I guess I don't really know how to describe this, but like just numbness. Like you could. It feels as though you could drive like a railroad spike through my brain, and I probably wouldn't feel anything. If that makes sense.
Right. Okay. I don't know what that feels like. I've never had that one myself. So, and how do you know that's what you're feeling?
I just do. I guess it just feels like kind of nothingness.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Physically,
physically.
I get a lot of headaches.
Headaches. Okay. Let's write that down as well.
I feel really tired.
Okay, Oh, and you're tired as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you said that earlier, and you haven't got a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
Energy. Okay. All right, that's great. Thank you. You told me lots of stuff there. So you were at home and you were doing some work, and then you suddenly started to just feel sad and bored and rubbish. So you went for a walk. Did you go for a walk then?
What do you mean?
Because we're talking about a specific situation, aren't we? Remember I said, like, tell me about a specific situation.
Yes. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it did. Yeah.
Yeah, so you went for a walk, but it didn't make any difference because you had some headaches and you felt tired and stuff like that, yeah?
Huh.
Okay. So if you have a look then, I'll just hold that up quickly so you can have a quick look, you see? And it's like one thing leads to another. So what kind of happens for you? So what did you notice first? Were you feeling sad first, or were you having that thought?
I suppose it was it was kind of a mixture of both, really, to be honest with you. I think
right, okay.
Probably the feeling, actually, thinking about it now.
Okay. So what we do in CBT then is we make you kind of identify and recognise when you're caught up in lots of unhelpful thinking, or if you're doing lots of things that are making you feel this way, and then we'll help you to make the changes. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So what bits do you really want us to work on?
Whatever will kind of help, I guess, really.
Yeah. Okay. I think if you know what we know, because it's an evidence-based thing, CBT means that they've done lots of research and they know that it works. So one of the things that you'll have to do, because it sounds like you're depressed, is we'll have to kind of get you being a bit more active and doing some more stuff.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Yeah. What sort of stuff?
I'm not sure really. What stuff did you used to enjoy?
Annoyingly, walking, I guess. I mean, that used to be really good fun.
Okay. Did you go on long walks? Did you?
Yeah, quite long walks.
And why did you stop doing that then? If you used to find it fun, why have you stopped doing it?
Oh, because it stopped being fun.
Oh, did it?
Mm.
Okay. Is that yeah, it's the weather probably, isn't it? Because it's not much fun walking in the rain and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I didn't think of that.
Okay. And then because you haven't got a good support network either, so you're not really talking to anybody, are you? And you haven't got any friends, so...
Yeah, I mean, they're as supportive as they can be. Like, they stick around. I just don't want them to be dragged down with it.
Okay. And then the other thing that I really want to check with you today, so we know that when people are depressed, they get a bit suicidal. Is that something you've been experiencing at all?
It's not got to that stage yet. Like I think I've had thoughts that maybe I'd be better off if I wasn't here, but I'd never do anything like that.
How do you know you never would? How do you know that won't change?
Because I haven't thought about actively doing it yet, I guess.
Okay. Have you put anything into place then to make sure that you'll be safe?
Not well. Yeah, well, I suppose. I mean, my family are there, and I don't really, they'd kind of know, and I don't really want to hurt them. So.
Okay, but you just wouldn't do it, no?
Pretty much, no. Yeah.
Okay. And did you talk to your doctor then about some medication?
Yeah, I did. But I told him that I kind of wanted to give therapy a go first because, I think medication only kind of masks what's going on, and therapy might help kind of actually do the work on what might actually be happening underneath it all.
So you don't think it would be a good idea then to have some tablets?
I don't know. It could be.
I know. I mean, I work with lots of people, so and often they'll be on medication as well. So I wonder if that's something you should be thinking about.
Maybe.
Yeah, because it might make your therapy a bit easier. Because it might make you feel better quicker.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, maybe. Yeah.
All right then. So you go and talk to your GP about that. Okay. Okay. Now, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you need to tell me?
I don't think so. I don't know what else you'd need to know.
Well, you've told me a bit about what's happening. Oh, have you ever had anything like this before?
Yeah, but it was years ago. And
how did you get better then? What did you do?
I don't know. It just sort of happened, really.
It just sort of happened?
Yeah, I just kind of got better. I don't really think I didn't do anything different. I didn't have this before or medication. It just sort of went.
It just went away. How long did that take?
A while, I think, from memory.
So how come you don't think it's just going to go away this time? If it's gone away once before and you didn't get any professional help or anything, do you think that could happen again?
I didn't really think of that. I mean, it feels a lot worse this time than it did, but it could do, I suppose, maybe.
Okay. And what do you think the therapy is going to do for you?
Just, I think I'd feel a bit happier.
Okay. What do you mean?
I'd just feel a bit less numb. I might enjoy things a bit more.
Oh, okay. What kind of things are you not enjoying then?
Sort of everything, to be honest.
Yeah. But you're not really doing anything either, though, are you? Is that what you said? So you're not really doing anything. So then I suppose you're not going to be enjoying this stuff if you're not doing it.
True, but I'm guessing, but I'm not enjoying not doing stuff either. And everyone likes a bit of rest, right?
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah, that's a point. What's your sleeping like at the moment?
Pretty bad, to be honest. So I find it really
Okay.
difficult to get to sleep, and staying asleep is pretty awful. Like every couple of hours on the hour, I'll wake up. Really,
What are you waking up for?
I don't know. I just wake up and just toss and turn,
Okay.
struggle to get back to sleep again. And
So you know that. So how long do you kind of lie there before you get back off to sleep?
probably about 20 minutes, half an hour.
Right. What you really need to do then, if you don't go back to sleep straight away, you need to get up and go and do something else. It's
Oh,
called sleep hygiene.
okay.
Yeah, don't just lie there waiting to go back to sleep because that won't work.
Got you. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's difficult because with the family in the house and anything, I can't really make any noise or anything like that. So I don't know what to do.
Okay. Yeah. No, that is difficult. Yeah. Okay. And what about your appetite? What's that like at the moment?
Well, that sort of goes either way, really. Like some days I'm just raiding the fridge constantly, but others I'm just not eating anything at all.
Okay. So you can go, skipping meals and things?
I couldn't go entire days without eating sometimes.
Okay. But then other days you eat too much.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And are you drinking some alcohol?
Yeah. Particularly on the weekends, I'm drinking a lot.
How much?
Last weekend I did about, I think it was about either between a quarter and a half a bottle of rum. Neat.
Oh, that's a lot. That's loads. So, what do you think that's going to be helpful? What's that helping?
It feels good in the moment because it just feels like a lot of pressure is off me, and it feels like.
But it's not real, though, is it? It's not real that you feel better.
In the moment, it is. It feels nice.
But don't you, that alcohol's a depressant? So actually, it's that you're just doing something to make it all worse. Really, it's going to just make you feel much more depressed, isn't it?
I suppose so. I didn't really think about it like that.
Have you not heard that before? That alcohol's a depressant.
I mean, I've heard it, but I just didn't really want to accept it, I guess.
Okay. Any illegal drugs?
No.
No. Smoking?
No.
You having lots of coffee?
1 cup a day.
Okay. So if you have too much caffeine, it's not good. But I don't know, if your energy levels are really low, maybe a couple of cups. You could try that, couldn't you, and see if it gives you some more energy.
That's true. I didn't think about that really. I'll try that.
Okay. Well, I've got all of the information I need, I think. I think it's definitely depression, isn't it? Sounds like that to me, looking at what you've said. And then because I've written it down in this 5 areas as well. So, yeah, it's definitely depression.
Okay.
So we'll do some CBT for that. Now, we've only got like 5 minutes. So what I need you to do now is give me some feedback.
Oh, okay.
What have you thought of this assessment today?
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you think we should have covered, or something I should have asked you?
I don't know. I think.
Well, is there anything missing? Anything you wanted to tell me that I forgot to ask you about?
I'm not sure, but I don't think so. I can't think of anything being missing. I'm not sure what else you'd need to know and what else would help. So I'm I'm guessing
Let me have a
yes.
check. Hang on, let me have a check. So, checked out your support network, and we've talked about your lifestyle, and the things that could be making you feel like this. And I asked you, oh, have you ever had any mental health support before?
No, I haven't. No.
No, this is your first time. Okay. So yeah, I think that's everything for me. I don't need anything else from you.
Okay.
So what happens now? I'll go and talk to my supervisor, and then we'll let you know what therapy you can have, and when that can start. Is there any questions?
No, that's that'll do.
Okay, thank you then, Rav.
Thank you. Welcome back to Two Lost Souls. So you find us here having both done an OSCE. I'm still recovering. I think I'm still shaking in my seat a little bit from mine, despite having recorded mine first. So, firstly, we're really intrigued to hear what your thoughts are out there if you're listening to this on both of those sessions. So please, as usual, drop us a tweet at TLS_pod with your thoughts on that. If you are marking a full-scale CTSR, please feel free to send it our way at twolostsoulspodcast@gmail.com. Please remember that we are human and this was for show. So please don't be too harsh. But we're really interested to hear your reflections. And we're going to go over some of our reflections as well. So should we do it in order? So just first of all, for the first session where I was in the hot seat and definitely squirming, what were your thoughts and reflections on that session, Cheryl? How did it feel to be the client?
So it felt actually really genuine, and you were curious in all the right ways. You were gathering information, but you weren't doing it in a kind of a bubba bum type fashion. You were asking questions that were appropriate and relevant. It felt collaborative. You were encouraging me to, and giving me time and space to share, whilst gently guiding me to fulfill the requirements of the assessment, which I liked. I'm really interested to hear your feedback on how you felt it went, because obviously we work together, and I have the privilege of being your supervisor, and I know that you have a tendency on occasion to be a little more self-critical than is probably fair. So I'm really interested to see how you found that.
Yeah. I mean, really difficult, to be honest.
Yeah.
And one thing I kind of want to stress to anyone listening is that the assessment that you do for your OSCE is dramatically different to the assessments that you tend to do in real life.
Absolutely.
Not only in terms of time frame, so it's literally half the time that you'd have for your first session that you'll do with people, but also a lot of the stuff that you have to do is kind of missing. So things that you might do in terms of local service rules and regs, confidentiality, consent, all that sort of stuff kind of goes out the window. And particularly when you've been doing it for so long, that kind of becomes part of your flow when you're doing it. And to see that stuff go missing can sometimes feel a bit jarring. To me, in the OSCE that we did earlier on, I must admit, I didn't enjoy it. I felt like it was a very... I didn't feel as though I was being so empathic and kind of collaborative with it. I think from my perspective, I felt like I kind of rushed into the 5 areas model, and didn't... I think I could have been a bit more... I could have been been a bit more Socratic at points, I think. I don't know whether I developed enough of a big picture around
Okay.
what was going on. But that being said, I also think, on the other hand, I think I got a sufficient amount of information to understand what was going on for the client.
Yeah.
I was able to, in my mind, even though I didn't overtly mention this, name this as sort of social anxiety internally for myself and kind of know which way I'd be sort of working with this client going forward, which is kind of what the aim of this is about.
Yeah. And you would also, I think, just to pick up on your point about, the things that we do in service that we don't do in OSCE, you would have had other tools to support you in this assessment, such as your MDS or your ADMS. So you'd have had some support with it. You wouldn't have been completely reliant on eliciting all of this stuff, because you might have had a really nice starting off point by looking through somebody's questionnaire scores. And you don't get that in an OSCE. So you're going in completely blind, which is not the norm.
Definitely. And also, I think, just to acknowledge this sense of pressure as well. So in our service, there is a kind of buddy system. And when you're a trainee, you get signed up to work with a buddy. And at this point, I want to give a bit of a shout out to fellow therapist Rachel Ward, who mentioned to me in a buddy meeting once that, it'll all come out in the wash. And this sense of if you miss stuff, it's okay, because you can kind of go and recapture it in following sessions. And obviously in an OSCE, sort of a one-shot thing, and you have to capture all the information you need to fulfill your marks for your CTSR, or it's sort of game over. So there's a lot of pressure riding on that, and it's a strange way of it's a strange thing of having to balance the expectation in terms of managing to get everything you need and almost fill all the boxes on the bingo card, whilst also remaining really human and empathic and compassionate for the person that's in the room in front of you. Also remembering that actually sometimes it's really difficult to not break the fourth wall as well, and because the person sitting in front of you isn't a client. And you can't unknow that. You know that it's this mate that you've been sitting sort of 7 feet away from in your class for a few weeks, and it's sometimes really difficult to put that aside. Sometimes maybe more difficult than others, depending on their acting skill. So I think that's an important thing to bear in mind as well. Moving forward to the second session, if we're all right to, or is there anything else that you wanted to mention about the first one?
No, I think you've covered it. Yeah.
Cool. When it came to your session, firstly, it was super surreal for me, because I know you as being this uber compassionate, uber Socratic, and uber supportive person. What did it feel like to be delivering bad therapy? And I'm really intrigued. Was there a sense of liberation that came with it?
No, not even a little bit. It was hideous. It's really horrible. I mean, I kind of do pride myself on being a compassionate therapist. That's my thing. So to step back from that for a moment, you'd think it would be a nice change, really. It wasn't. It was horrible. It's really difficult, I think, when you're only focused on your own agenda and you forget that the person, or you choose to ignore that the person opposite you is a real human who is probably quite vulnerable, because they're doing something they may have never done before. Oh, I'm really sorry, my dog's just starting to bark.
That's okay.
And to be so rigid, knowing that you've got just a very short period of time, that you've got to get this information out. It is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. So no, I didn't enjoy it. I'm glad I don't work in that way. I don't think I would still be working, actually, if I worked in that way.
I mean, it sounds like it was, more than anything, really taxing for you, to be honest.
To be bad, yeah. I mean, so I kind of did the 5 areas incorrectly, because I thought that's quite an easy thing to do badly. But
Yeah.
actually, it's not. It's not an easy thing to do badly, because I wanted to help you socialize to CBT, because that's what I'm trained to do, and that's what I wanted to do. But I wanted to do a really poor job of it, and it's hard. It was really difficult, and I just felt very uncomfortable. So, yeah, not fun.
Yeah.
But hopefully, what it demonstrated is that, you know, you've got to have a mix of warmth and compassion and genuine interest in the person that's sitting opposite you. And it doesn't matter if they're virtual or not. You've got to be genuinely interested in what they're bringing. I don't think it matters quite so much that they immediately get it. You can take your time with that stuff in sessions to come, and help them kind of socialize to models and things like that. But I think it is really important that they're not so put off at assessment stage that they never come back, and don't seek support again. So go in with kind of kindness overkill, perhaps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I must admit, as the client that was on the receiving end of that stuff, I felt very confused. And it's the really interesting thing is, so again, having the privilege of working with you, there were elements of you that I don't think you could fully switch off during that, and there were times when I could tell that you were trying to be really bad at stuff, but there were points where I just got little hints of like warmth and compassion, and I was like, well, okay, and that was kind of enough to sort of keep me invested in the process.
Okay. I don't remember doing them. I do know that I checked out if that was okay a few more times than I wanted to as a bad therapist.
Yeah.
But I don't know, habits are hard to break, right?
Yeah, definitely. But also as a client, I felt really confused. I think particularly when you were asking stuff like, well, have I asked you everything I need to ask? Is there anything else I need to know? I was kind of sitting there being like, well, I don't know what else you do need to know. You're the one who's kind of got the guide on this stuff, and you're the one who knows what you need to know.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, that we talk a lot, don't we, in therapy about power and power balance levels in the room. And I think no matter how you frame it, in an assessment or somebody's very first session, the power balance is never going to be equal, because you're the therapist and you know more about the process than the client does in that moment. So your job is to try and equal up the power balance. And you do that, I think, by spending the time to explain and pause and reflect, and allowing the client to do that too. And I didn't give you the opportunity to do that. It was really my agenda. That's what we were working to. And my really clumsy attempts at getting you to contribute actually just made it more difficult for you, because you didn't know what the bloody hell you were supposed to be contributing.
Yeah. So. And it was also very leading at points. I think it's...
Don't say that. It was so Socratic.
Well, I think it's important to say, like, whenever there are two words that come up a lot in CBT, and those are guided discovery. And whenever I hear the words guided discovery, I've just got this image in my mind of you literally kind of wandering through a forest with someone almost, and kind of gently persuading them to look in different directions. But if they walk off in another direction, it's your job to kind of follow and see where they're going, whilst also then maybe encouraging them different directions to look in from that point. And it's
getting them back onto the path so they don't get lost in the forest forever.
or getting them back onto the path. You're right. But I think the main thing is that it's a joint process.
Yeah. Very much so.
And collaborative between you and the client. And that second, OSCE felt like someone had just sort of grabbed my hand and was just pulling me all the way into this forest. And I was really worried that I wouldn't find a way out, to be honest.
And I didn't point out any of the nice things to look at while we were there.
No.
It was just, we're going to get right to the end of this assessment, and that's that done.
Well, to be fair, you did. You were like, it's really dark in here, isn't it? And that was it.
That's true. That is true. Because you sounded very depressed.
And it was. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'd worked really hard on that.
But yeah, so interesting. I think I enjoyed it more than I think you did.
So
which is a shame.
So are we learning then that it's much more enjoyable to be a bad therapist than it is be a good therapist, or it's much less
yeah.
nerve-wracking anyway?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I did get the giggles a little bit. No, I didn't enjoy it as in like, oh, that was great. Let's do that again. But I've enjoyed this process actually of, and you know, listening back to your reflections on the piece of work that you did, thinking about the piece of work that I did. So yeah, I would love some feedback if people are happy to kind of tweet in and let us know.
Yeah. I think just a disclaimer on that as well, though, obviously there is no such thing as a perfect CBT session.
Nope.
No one is ever going to score all fives.
Nope.
Even I don't think, maybe Christine Podesky, I don't know, maybe not.
Oh, she definitely would. She definitely would.
I don't know. Sometimes I watch a Podesky video and I go, well, could do with a bit more warmth and empathy there.
Wow.
But maybe I'm just being a harsh critic. And so, and I think there will also be definitely things that we may have missed, definitely in the second session, but there also may have been things that I missed in the first session. But please, if you are going to reflect on that, if you are going to fill out a CTSR and send it our way, feel free to include them and let me know.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really useful. Just kind of taking a step forward from those. What are your sort of top tips for anyone who's about to go and sit their OSCE? Because I think unis at this point are kind of getting close to that point of recording and submitting those. What are your top tips for people who are about to undergo that process?
I think practice, definitely, but don't kind of try to predict everything that's going to occur in the session in advance. You'll just, I feel, make yourself much more anxious than you need to be. Try and be, you know, responsive and reactive to what comes up in the assessment. And you can only do your best with the information that you've got. You aren't perfect. You're a trainee. I'm not perfect. I'm qualified. And I will always kind of be learning and making mistakes and getting things wrong. So expect to not kind of be perfect, and then you won't be disappointed. And the other thing I think is just don't be too hard on yourself if at the end of it you reflect back and think, oh goodness, I missed that, I forgot to ask this, I could have said that in a better way. You can always improve, always, but you've only got to be good enough in this moment. You've only got to pass. Definitely. And you know what? If you don't pass, you have another go, and that's fine too. It's a bit like your driving test, right? They always say the best people pass on the second go. I passed on the first go.
Yeah, I was about to say, as someone who passed first time round, I have never heard that in my life.
Yeah, I have heard that, but only by people who pass second time, right? But whatever gets you through, it's fine. And it really doesn't matter. If you pass your OSCE on the second go, nobody's going to ask you that on your job interview. They won't care. Yeah.
A pass is a pass.
A pass is a pass. Absolutely. Give yourself a break. Try and enjoy it. Yeah, okay, all right. That's a big ask. But yeah, you only do one, right? You only do one OSCE or two if you fail, you have to reset it. Yeah. But yeah, just... It's an experience. Go with it. Yeah, you'll be fine.
For the benefit of the tape, the reason Shell then said that it's a big ask is because I raised my eyebrows in surprise.
almost to the top of your closed cupboard door.
Almost, yeah, which is a refreshing change for me to have my cupboard doors closed. Which brings me on to one of my tips actually for the OSCE, and that's if you are doing it remotely and over Zoom, don't blur your background, no matter how hideous the cupboards may be behind you. If you are doing this in a very similar kitchen setting to the one I'm in, don't blur your background, because if you proceed to kind of write out a 5 areas formulation and attempt to show it on the camera, it will obviously be blurred, and then you'll have to eat up 45 seconds to a minute of sort of frantic clicking on your Zoom screen to unblur it so it will show. This may or may not be the voice of experience speaking. And this was actually, and again for the record, this was actually also captured in the CTSR as well. So the CTSR I got back from the marker did mention the therapist was heard to be clicking around on their screen and clearly had technical trouble trying to show the formulation they had made. So I don't think I lost too many marks for that, but that might be one that you want to head off before it happens. Also, and again, saying this as someone who definitely has a lot of experience in this area, if you are concerned about your timing, set a timer. Make sure you've got a timer going on your phone, because generally, so most universities will do the whole 10% over thing. So if your OSCE is half an hour, you'll be allowed 33 minutes. And anything after that won't be marked. They'll just stop listening to the recording. So if you're doing any Podesky or Beck-esque CBT gold after 33 minutes, they're not going to count it.
What a waste! What a waste!
And it has happened. I do know some colleagues who've been through that pain. So just make sure that's on the radar. I'd also recommend, so when you set that timer, set it for about maybe 27 minutes, so you know that you've got enough time to sort of begin wrapping up the session. Full disclosure, I think for my session, because as usual, I struggle with timings. I think I was just outside the 33. I don't think it was by much, but it's just something to kind of bear in mind. As we mentioned earlier, you'll have a very different flow doing this in an OSCE to what you would doing this with a real client in your day-to-day practice. Sometimes it's quite jarring and easy to get lost in that a little bit. I'll be honest, I don't really know what we can say is a bit of a fix to that, other than just sort of bearing in mind that does happen. But
it will be the same. It will be the same for everybody across the board. That's the other thing to remember. So, you know, your peers and the rest of the cohort will be experiencing the same thing. It's very manufactured. It's supposed to be. So I think if you kind of hold that in mind, don't expect it to feel like the work that you do with an actual real life client with real life stuff, and then you won't be disappointed or too shocked.
Definitely, yeah, and related to that as well, just something that we had a reflect on just off air during the break. Just a reminder that this isn't you in your natural state when you're recording this. You approach an OSCE with a bit more of an agenda, and with a bit more of an aim of finding particular pieces of information out to fulfill certain criteria, where in real life, hoping you'd kind of just be in the room a bit more with the client. So I think just don't be too put off by that, particularly if you're listening to it back and you're going, oh, that was awful. I think just maybe bear that in mind, and practice a little bit of self-compassion for the circumstances that you're in.
Yes, very much so.
And finally, this is a question that comes up a lot in terms of the OSCE, and this is something that you would have heard touched on a little bit in the second recording. So you don't have to bring up the topic of risk in your OSCE. So if you usually would in your sessions, as we tend to do in your first session, discuss the risk that someone poses in terms of maybe thoughts of ending their life or harming themselves, you don't have to actively open that topic as part of the OSCE. However, if the client raises it you have to deal with it, and you have to
Yeah.
be reflexive and deal with what they bring into the room. And if you don't, they will include that as OSCE feedback, and they will grade you accordingly on that. So if someone says, I have constant thoughts of just wanting to take all my pills and end it all, and you go, oh, that's a shame. But what about the anxiety that you're going through?
Yeah.
You will definitely be marked down for that.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to respond to what's in the room. And yeah, and you know, even the more subtle kind of, I just can't see any point, those kinds of things. You should become a little bit investigative about that, because that's just really good practice. And I think if you just kind of overlook that, that wouldn't be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Just to kind of round off this section of the show, if you do your OSCE and you feel it goes well, or even you just do it and you're glad that you've done it, feel free to drop us a line in our self-celebration box and we can give you a shout out on the show. Or if you have any feedback on the OSCEs you've heard today, or the OSCE, you want to mention the OSCE that you've done, drop us a line at TLS_pod on Twitter, or email us at twolostsoulspodcast@gmail.com. So if you have taken anything away from this episode of Two Lost Souls, please hit that subscribe button on your podcatcher of choice and recommend us to your friends. It really means a huge amount. And I actually just want to say as well, a big thank you to Act Royalty, or should I say the ACT cheerleader, not the guru, Dr. Richard Bennett, who gave us a shout out on Twitter. We are big fans of his work, actually. So
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, but a big thank you for that, Rich. Also, if any of you listeners are feeling generous, please feel free to donate to our Ko-fi at kofi.com/TLS_pod. And also a final plea from us that if there is anything you would like to see us discuss on this show, or if there's anything you want to share with us, give us a follow and drop us a line at TLS_pod on Twitter, or at twolostsoulspodcast@gmail.com. And all that's left to say in this episode is a big thank you to Shell.
Thanks, Ravi.
And a big thank you to all of you out there for listening, and leave you with the news that a CBT service run by bakers has started up. Their main change method is to collaboratively make responsibility pie.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
So we've
worst one yet.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. So we've gone from a big laugh in the last episode back to the hearty groans of this one, and I must say I'm here for it. I'm very happy about that. Thank you all of you for listening, and we'll catch you soon on Two Lost Souls. Two Lost Souls was presented by Ravi Amrath and Michelle Sudbury. To get in touch, contact TLS_pod on Twitter, or email twolostsoulspodcast@gmail.com.